think the tactical setup, whilst I am currently, as of this afternoon, I am struggling a little bit with it to figure it out. I think it's good. I think there's a lot in there to like if you can get your head around it.
FM 21, 22, 23, 24. I don't really feel like much changed in the game. It was like playing a very similar game each year. Now, FM 26 may have been launched with a lot of teething issues that continue, but there are elements of the game that are very different, which are immersing me.
And it's something very similar to when people have asked me, like, oh, do you like FM 26? And my response has always been, I'm enjoying my save. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'm enjoying FM 26 as a game, but I'm enjoying my save. And you've sort of like, where we aren't able to pinpoint what immersion means to us per se, you've really pinpointed where I currently am. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the FM Show. I'm of course your host Tony Jameson, and this evening I'm joined by two very wonderful guests. We have the one and only United City FM Kev, and we also have Mr. Save himself, FM Llama. Gentlemen, I hope you're well. Welcome to the FM Show. Kev, we're going to come to you first. The countdown to Christmas is on. How are you, my friend? Are you well?
I'm very well. Thank you very, very much. I am a little bit, what can I say? I'm a little bit on the rest at the moment. I've got a few days to go till I get back into Santa gear to do the Christmas run. So, you know, my streaming gig tides me over between Christmases. It does very well, but the proper business starts now. So I'm on the rest, but I'm okay. I'm ready to go. We can do this.
Fantastic. And I hope you're on the rest properly and not on the rest as per the latest patch, where you will be incredibly unhappy that we have offered you out for a free transfer and therefore deemed you surplus to requirements, which is not the case, Kev. Of course it's not. We've got you here and you're absolutely
that's incredibly topical comedy there. I'm very, very impressed.
Exactly. All we need is for this thing to come out within the next 3 weeks for that joke to still stay relevant. Speaking of relevant, hello, Llama. It's always a pleasure having you in. Are you well, my friend?
Incredibly well, yeah. Just like Kev, gearing up for a very busy time of year. Obviously, standing in as Phil Mitchell's body double. We've got Christmas specials of EastEnders to be filming, and so I've got all of that script learning to do. But other than that, very, very well.
Excellent. It's a pleasure to have you both in. It really is. This episode has sort of come off the back of a conversation we were having amongst ourselves. And how do I sort of approach it, really? I mean, we sort of touched upon a little bit there that there's been another patch that's dropped today. When we were discussing this episode, there was no patch this afternoon, by the way. So that's sort of come in. That may become part of the conversation. But FM 26, it's been out for what? Nearly 2 months now-ish, or 6 weeks. I don't know, it feels like a long time, to be honest. It's felt like it's been out forever. We've heard in the content creator space, various people say that they're struggling with regards to views, with their certain contents not being picked up as it was historically with FM 24, things like rebuilds, experiments. They're struggling a little bit. But yourselves, similar to myself as well, we're kind of in that let's play space, really, aren't we? Particularly when it comes to streaming, and we sort of are more narrative driven. And the conversation that we had genuinely this afternoon was about the rise of the Let's Play and the rise of the story. Because although some people would have us say that Let's Players are dying off, fellas, I'm here to suggest that potentially it's quite the opposite. And that potentially the art of storytelling is not dead yet, Kevin.
Well, no, I think that's true. I'm not sure it will ever die off. I think there'll always be a mechanism for storytelling. That the question becomes, how do you tell your story, and from what perspective are you telling your story? As you say, we are talking primarily from our own point of view in terms of Let's Plays on streaming kind of stuff. And I think that's where it's going to be more beneficial. I think if you are telling a long-term story on YouTube where you can't have an immediate interaction with the people that are watching your stuff, maybe there are some issues in some of that. But the simple reality is at any point, anybody can join my stream and ask me, where are we at in the story? And I can recount that. But the important thing for me is, whilst I might have a save, and currently I'm on a one club save at Worthing trying to get them to the top of English and European football, but whilst that might be my main long-term aim, the simple reality is, have I figured out how to put a tactic together? Have I figured out how to get my 16-year-old striker into my first team? Have I figured out what my current aim for this current season is? Have I figured out how I'm going to rebuild next season if I do or don't go up? There are lots of story threads and things to pull on. And so I'm never going to suggest that the storytelling of Football Manager is dead. The game might be slightly more challenging to tell a story from in some ways, but ultimately the stories are there. You've got to find the thread to pull on.
Yeah, the stories are there, Llama. They're just obviously there to be told, but potentially not in YouTube format. We'll come back to that in a little bit later on, because I'm sure you've got some thoughts there. But where's your thoughts with regards to storytelling in Football Manager?
Yeah, so I think there are probably two different types of Football Manager content creators, just as there are two different types of Football Manager viewers, I think. So I think in terms of content creators, there are those that are storytellers, and there are those that are information givers. And there are also, with viewers, there are those viewers that are information hungry. They want videos about Wonder Kids, they want videos about tactics, they want advice, they want tips, they want information that surrounds the game. And I think there's a whole army of Football Manager content consumers that actually want to watch people playing the game, either because that enthuses them to go and play themselves, or it is an accompaniment whilst they're playing. I mean, before I was a content creator, I used to be playing Football Manager 18, 19 on my laptop, and I'd be watching Loki Doki up on the big TV. It's like the two would go together. I play and I watch at the same time. And so I think there is always going to be a demand there for Football Manager content that tells stories, just as there is always going to be demand for both fiction and non-fiction writing.
Yeah, I like the comparison there, particularly with literature, because it is worth mentioning as well. And this is not going to be a content creator conversation per se. Of course, we will angle some of the conversation from our perspectives as content creators, but also as Football Manager. You've used the word there, Llama. People will shout at me if I use the word consumer. So I'll maybe use the word the audience, because sometimes people will be like, we're not consumers, we're the players, and you are like the audience, but we're also like, we're Football Manager fans first and foremost. Before we turned a camera on, we played Football Manager for our hobby and our enjoyment, So, of course, when we're playing the game, we are creating these stories in our heads. We are trying to tell a narrative with regards to our saves. Some people have said recently that it's more difficult to do that because of the lack of immersion, and we'll find out where you both sit on this fence and what you define immersion to be, because again, there's certain things that I'm looking at thinking, well, maybe it doesn't affect me personally, but I can see why it would maybe annoy some people that things aren't there. But ultimately, like any Football Manager save per se is a narrative. It is a story. We've said it before. It's the greatest role-playing game there is, really. It's Dungeons and Dragons, essentially, like in a sense. So Kev, let's talk us through then. Let's talk me through where you are currently with your thoughts with regards to this immersion, right? Like where do you feel as though the game is lacking, and do you think it's done anything really good actually in FM26?
So it's a complicated beast, isn't it, ultimately? And I think what we're going to try and do here is something that the internet doesn't do, and we're going to try nuance. And I think that's a real challenge these days for all sorts of different reasons. But the nuance of it for me is when this game came out in its beta form, I wasn't part of the alpha, but I was part of the beta. When it came out, I was incredibly disappointed and incredibly frustrated and a bit cross with a lot of things that this game was or wasn't in lots of different directions. It was a crashy, buggy, laggy mess that had got some design features that had been made by the company deciding what to put in and what not to have. It was completely incomplete and frayed around the edges and all sorts of stuff. And I found it very, very difficult. I was unwell during the beta period. It wasn't a particularly good launch for me personally as a player of FM. And there was a few days where I played it and then actually my health got the best of me and I put it down for a few days and actually had to kind of come back to it after those couple of days. And actually that did me the world of good because I think I missed a lot of the vitriol at the very beginning when people really, really wanted a place to come and vent and be utterly disgusted at the world and everything in it. I wasn't available for that because I was on my sickbed. When I came back, things had settled down somewhat, but it was still a laggy, buggy, crashy mess that was incomplete and design choices were made that I don't think is right. The immersion thing was for a while a bit of an intangible for me. I couldn't quite place my finger on why I felt when I was playing this game that it wasn't connecting and I wasn't feeling immersed. I think over time you begin to understand a few bits and pieces that are or aren't there. So, for example, we'll use the obvious ones to start with. You can't shout at your players during games. This was in the beta period in the early part of the launch. You can't interact with the match experience very much as a manager to a point. There are things that were lacking there. The other side of that then becomes, well, if you can't actually get involved by expressing yourself to the players, how do you get involved as the manager to actually make them do what you want them to do? And that wasn't there either. The tactical setup is brilliant. I love the in and out of possession stuff, the nuance of that and how you can try and create both and make them merge together and fit as a cohesive tactic. But the simple reality is the analytical data isn't there. Finding what is there became very clunky. And therefore, how do you make decisions as a manager? What are you basing them on? And then away from the match day experience, how do you see the rest of the universe that you've created by creating your new save in Football Manager 26? How can you go and look at other nations and look at other players? You couldn't even compare a random player to somebody in your own squad to decide whether they were better or not, or whether you wanted them, etc. And so therefore, all of it broke. And therefore, I was left feeling like a viewer of my own game rather than a participant in something that I particularly love to do. And therefore, my immersion was broken. I will quickly nuance all of that by saying, as of this moment today, you said another patch is out. They are doing a very good job within the context of they probably shouldn't have put this game out in the first place, but now they are doing a very good job of trying to mend it and make it into something that's better. And I think they're succeeding in that in certain ways. What I think they've done really well is I do think there are some graphical enhancements, but I'm not sure they were as far as many of us thought we might get, having spent 2 years hoping and dreaming for something since the last iteration of the game came out. I think the tactical setup, whilst I am currently, as of this afternoon, I am struggling a little bit with it to figure it out. I think it's good. I think there's a lot in there to like if you can get your head around it. And I'm going to say this really quietly because this is my hot take. Other than a little bit of contrast and colour and differentiating between a few bits and pieces, I quite like the UI look. Now, the experience of using it is a pain in the bum, but I quite like the UI look. As long as you can learn where a few things are, It's not bad. If you now transition back to FM24, not a skin, but the actual game itself, I think you'd notice quite a big difference in some ways. So there is lots to like, but it's a nuanced debate. Ultimately, it started off really bad. I'm now in the position where I think this is a good game, but it's not a great game because it still lacks the immersion.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of great points in there, Kev, and obviously Llama will get you to pick up on a few of those as well. I think the things that I've taken out. I mean, yeah, that final point there, that it's good. It's not great. Like, yeah, it's not. You know, it wasn't a good football manager when it first came out. It's getting towards being a good football manager. I think we were saying it was like 6 out of 10, and we were really pushing it to get it up towards a 6. There's elements in that game that, of course, weren't there at launch. You've mentioned shouts. Of course, they're back in now, and people are shouting away, Llama. They're shouting away. They've done on your stream. They've went shout. I don't know whether it's made a difference or not, but it's back in there. But the key thing for me was the bit you said there, Kev, about your universe, your world. Like, this is the beauty of Football Manager, is that everyone's save is individual. Everyone's universe is individual. It can't be replicated. It is completely unique. And the thing that I love, for me, and maybe this is where my initial thoughts were, well, what do you mean by immersion? Like, what are people saying? Like, there's no immersion. Like, for me, like 1 season, 2 seasons in, I'm not bothered about like where things are 1 season or 2 seasons. But by the time I'm 30 seasons in, I do want to know what's happening in other leagues around the world, and other managers that have moved on and players that have moved on. And I guess because I hadn't seen it in those first 2 years, or because I wasn't looking for it or wanting it, maybe my eyes weren't tuned into how much I missed it. And now, Llama, maybe 6 weeks in, I'm starting to think, well, actually, I can sort of see bits and pieces in the universe now, but again, it's not quite there front and center. And maybe some of this has been skin issue historically, or maybe it is just about there's no links joining it together. Like, where are you sitting with it? What's your take on it?
Oh, Tony. I mean, there's so many things to say, aren't there? I mean, first of all, I think we've got to remember that when you are contrasting FM26 with previous FMs, we're not comparing like with like, because previous FMs, people have lauded as great games, and that they are. Okay, that's great. But a lot of what made them immersive and what made them great, I think, may have been the work that the community did to enhance those games rather than the playability of the game out of the box. Now, that will be an unpopular thing with Sports Interactive. I know that they don't particularly enjoy the fact that there are people that mod or skin or enhance the game. But, you know, I think we've probably all been there, haven't we? The night before a new Football Manager is released, you're on various websites getting your player packs, getting your badges, or which skin am I going to pick out for this? Personally, I'm not a skin person. I use the default one. But, you know, how playable is the game? How good is the game without the real name fix ever? You know, it's certain leagues just off limits to me. You know, so talk about lack of immersion. How do you ever manage in Brazil when all the clubs have got 3-letter abbreviations? So, and there's not been as much community added content to this game because of the new nature of it. What has been done is incredible work, and I've seen a lot of it on the internet. But I think, you know, that's one thing we've got to consider. We're not comparing like with like. The other thing I would say is, I think it's really difficult to talk about what features are missing or what elements of the game need enhancing to give it that added immersion. When you think about how immersive some of the early versions of the game were, with a fraction of the features that FM26 has. And, you know, you think back to some of the saves that you've enjoyed the most, which might even have been prior to the 2D match engine, never mind the 3D one, where you were either just listening to Clive Tildesley read out lines of narrative, or you were watching bits of text flash up at the bottom of the screen, and it still had that immersion, it still had that playability. So putting your finger exactly on what FM26 is lacking is difficult for me. The one thing I would say is, and this is incredibly contradictory statement, okay? I would say FM26 is the least immersive version of the game for a while. Here's the contradiction. But I am more immersed in my FM26 save than I have been for some time, okay? And I think the reason for that is FM21, 22, 23, 24, I don't really feel like much changed in the game. It was like playing a very similar game each year. Now, FM26 may have been launched with a lot of teething issues that continue, but there are elements of the game that are very different, which are immersing me. So obviously you have the new match engine and the match graphics and the style of goals, and what you're watching is visually different. And like Kev alluded to, that the tactic element is probably the most radical overhaul of tactics in years, plus the inclusion of women's football, which not quite doubles the depth of the game, but enhances it significantly. For me, it feels like it's the first time the game has seismically changed for several years. And even though I think aspects of the UI make it less immersive, I find myself more immersed than ever.
That's a great point. That's a great point. And it's something very similar to when people have asked me, like, oh, do you like FM26? And my response has always been, I'm enjoying my save. I don't know if I'm enjoying FM26 as a game, but I'm enjoying my save. And you've sort of like, where we aren't able to pinpoint what immersion means to us per se, you've really pinpointed where I currently am as well. Like, because for me, like, I'm invested in my save. Like, irrespective of what the game looks like, how the game works, doesn't work, what's there, what's not there, I'm still loving my save. Like, and I genuinely, and I always hate season one. I've said this before, I hate season one. So for me, irrespective of how good the game is, I've still got to overcome that hurdle with season one. That's why I don't like the beta saves. I don't like those little short-term saves of like, you've got a couple of weeks to do stuff. And I know that's kind of really only like with my content creator head on, going, I'm going to do a short save because it's beta, and then when it drops to the main game, we can go into our proper save. And I would never have considered that previous to content, just as a player of the game. I would have probably just gone straight in with, right, I'm going to start my main save, and that's me, and any bugs that happen, and I just deal with it, you know, because that's how I used to play the game, you know, just as a fan. I would just go, right, the game's up, and if it doesn't work, I was fine, I'll start a new save, whatever. But I'd rather not, because then I've got to go through season one again. So, but I am fully invested in my save at this point, and I'm finding that, yes, I'm lacking certain news articles from around my world. I don't need to know, you know, what's happening at Real Madrid or what's happening in South America. I'm in Darlington, right? You know, I need to know what Stourbridge are doing. I need to know what Tunbridge Wells are doing. You know, like, they're the stories I need to be picking up on. And I'm getting a few of them now in the news, in the sort of the news around the world tab. But yeah, maybe I'm lacking a little bit of that. But you were in my stream the other night, boys. Like, we did our obligatory and almost customary now 2-stream transfer streams, where transfer recruitment for the summer window takes 2 nights. And I've got my pen and paper out, and I'm going through, you know, whatever information I can actually get from the game. And I'm not a statistician. I'm not Muster Man. I'm not Stinger. Like, I don't know the exact, you know, Trek knows it all. The Kultov knows it all. A lot of data in there I don't really understand. And I could just do the initial eyesight of, that looks like more than what my guy's got. So that's probably better, right? That's where I'm at, really. And I'm sort of like pens and paper. And I spent 2 nights invested in trying to improve my team and my squad. And then another night trying to change the tactical shape and the formation, and then recruiting specifically for that. So if you want to tell me that there's no immersion, what have I done 6 hours on stream for just there and then? And I've got a good number of people now watching on stream, we'll get to this bit as well, about how we're benefiting from a larger viewership now. And I've got more people in than I've ever had sat watching me with a pen and paper, looking for players with attribute masking on. Like, I don't know. For me, that is immersion. That is absolutely it right there. Because if I'm not involved and invested, I'm not scribbling names. I'm not spending 2 nights doing recruitment and tactics, Kev. Surely.
No, absolutely. And I think that there is an aspect of whatever you do to this game, to a point. Again, we're on nuance, but to a point. Whatever you do to this game, it still comes down to, this is my lot versus your lot. And I want my lot to be as good as they can be against your lot and see what we can do. And whether that leads to something of just a one-off win in this particular moment, or whether it leads to something further down the line where we might get a couple of promotions and do some big things and change the club completely or whatever. It's still my lot versus your lot. And the minute you can get past that first season and begin to put your ideas and your players and your vision into whatever it is you're doing, whatever that might be. And, you know, myself and Llama have a conversation pretty much 3 times a week whenever Llama streams about your vision and what that looks like, and where how you should process that and what you should use and how you should use and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of not important because it's yours. But the minute you can do that for your save and put something of you into it, then yes, I am the same as you. I am connected to my save. I am 3 seasons almost done in my current save of the one club save in Worthing, which I never do. I always do journey saves. I always get a bit itchy after about 3 or 4 seasons and start looking around and see what I can move to, you know, especially if it gets a bit complicated like it did this afternoon and things aren't quite working. This is normally my point to jump and find what the next thing is, but I'm not going to do that this time. So now my mindset is, okay, so how do I now make this work? There is a different emphasis. So I am engaged in my save. I am invested in some of the players that I've got. Some of them frustrate the doo-doos out of me, and that's absolutely fine. And they might not be here past this coming summer. You never know. I've got a young 6'7" target forward 16-year-old in my under squads that I'm paying close attention to. Can I get him into my first team? I am invested, and so are other people that come in and around our streams and our saves, etc. And that helps to propel it as well. Am I particularly interested in playing this save or any other save away from sharing it online currently? No, not massively, but this is my save. And I'm usually a one save kind of player anyway. So I'm more than happy with that. I am immersed. I am connected. I am invested to see where we go. I'm just still in the process 3 seasons in my one club save that I never do, of praying I never get the sack, because that would be a problem.
You've got to embrace the sack, Kev. It puts hairs on your chest. It makes you a manager, the sack. And this is a bugbear of mine. This happens a lot in conversation with people going like, especially like when you're sort of, because we're putting our saves out online. It happens obviously if you're just playing offline as well. Like, you know, you get sacked, you move on. But I guess if people are watching you, there's that added pressure like, well, you're going to get sacked. And I'm like, yep, probably. And it's going to be fine, because do you know what happens after then? We get to go to a new team. We get to ruin them as well. But an interesting point that was made there by Kev, Llama, you did this today, and I've certainly done it, and I know that Kev's done it as well. Again, talking about immersion, right? We have spent more time, I would wager, on FM26 tactically tweaking in order to try and get results. Now, theories as to why this could be, let's discuss them, as to why we're spending more time in the tactics. Is it because the tactics builder is new and shiny and we want to understand it? Or is it because everything's different and it's a bit harder and we're getting a bit frustrated that we're not winning as easily as we used to, because we were sort of accustomed to playing Football Manager on spacebar mode a little bit. So we've got to learn something brand new. What do you reckon?
So I think there's a few reasons why we're doing a bit more tactically. and this is where it might sound a little bit offensive, but I'm not sure any of us would consider tactics to be the most natural part of the game that comes to us. And so any change of tactical implementation in the game and changes in match engines and tactical setups, maybe we spend a little bit more time with. Like Kev says, he doesn't play a lot offline as well, and neither do I. So, whereas a creator like Stinger will, spend hours each day working on difficult tactical incarnations and things, we don't do that. We do it all on stream for people. Like I mentioned earlier, it is new. So it's got that kind of freshness about it. So it's really enjoyable to be in there and thinking about the possibilities of what you can create. The other thing I would perhaps say is as to why I'm spending so much time in tactics is because I feel like I can't spend time doing other aspects of the game I used to invest a lot in, like training, which ostensibly is no different to FM24, but I find the screen too much work to deal with, really. So I find myself looking for other aspects of the game where I can influence things, and tactics is the thing.
I suppose as well, when it initially came out, there was no shouts either. So like you had tactics or you had nothing, really, I suppose. And you're right. I mean, I don't take any offense, Llama. You're right. I'm no tactician. I would like to be a tactician, but no, it just doesn't come naturally to me at all. And I've really struggled with the idea of, like, I guess with like the previous FMs, you sort of got used to the way the game played. So you're like, right, I know what a 4-3-3 looks like. I know what 4-4-2 looks like. I know what 4-2-4 looks like. I know what 3 at the back, 4-5-1. I know what these shapes are. And I know the roles that I can get away with that will do it. I've got my support, my attack, my defensive. And sorry, Trek, if you're listening, fullbacks and automatic as well. You've got those as well. But this is a brand new thing. This is brand new. I've had to sit there and go, what the heck is a pressing central midfielder? Like, oh dear, like what's a screening player? Like, oh, this looks all a little bit odd and different. And these are words that I don't know. And don't worry, I'm not only going to have one tactic, I'm going to have another one as well to try and like work out what happens when they don't have the ball. So I'm having a time. So we're having a time learning that part of the game. And, again, we'll get on to how much we play offline because it's very telling. I think that none of us are playing it offline, really. I was full of good intentions to play this new game offline and learn it. I was really excited. And maybe that excitement sort of waned a little bit after launch. But playing it with people, I just feel as though what we have now is it sort of suits for us in terms of like a content style. Like, it plays fine for streaming, particularly my stream as well. And like, we're all kind of like, we're conversation first with a game second. Like, it's not like it's front and center for any of our streams, really. I know, sorry, Lavia, someone's not even mentioned it.
Sorry.
You pressed spacebar the other day, didn't you?
I was just thinking that in my stream on Monday, we spent a good 30 minutes discussing Sandy Toksvig and finding out where she honeymooned. Yeah, so
I can confirm I was in there for that one.
Yeah, guilty as charged.
But do you know what? But that essentially just hammers my point right there, doesn't it? That that we're making the game work for us. And I know there's the argument, Kev, that you shouldn't have to make the game work for you. It should be, you get it out the box and you should be able to play it. Most people should be able to play it and find a way that they like to play it. Mm-hmm. I'm just wondering the way that we're angling this conversation. Like, is it playable offline? Like, this is the thing. Like, is it? Can you have these stories in your head? Like, is it, as Llama says, some of what has gone before has been modded so that we're that used to having things that aren't there anymore now? And if we were always to play with the vanilla skin, would we have experienced these problems earlier? I know there's a lot of stuff that don't work and it's like not that easy to say 100%, but I don't know, like, is it all doom and gloom, or is there something playable in there?
There definitely is. I think that, we three are going to come at this from a particular angle, having the platform to stream from, etc., etc. My question that I've been asking myself recently, away from FM26 specifically, is whenever it is that I decide not to stream anymore, and that could be any time down the line, I'm not saying it's going to be imminent or anything, but whenever that turns out to be, will I still play the game? Because streaming it has had such an impact on who I am and my enjoyment of what I do and the connection to my save and other bits and pieces. Will it feel the same when it's just me sitting on my sofa watching the telly and playing some Football Manager? Now, I might, but I might not. And I don't know. I'll have to get there to find out at some point, whenever that turns out to be. I've been saying for a little while, so let's preface this a little bit. There are going to be many people listening or watching in that don't have the platform that we have to experience what we do in terms of creating content around the game and putting something out there. So their version is, I have this game, I want it to entertain me, and I probably do it whilst I'm watching the telly on my laptop or whatever. Can I play it and can I enjoy it? And I think you can, absolutely. But I've been saying from my perspective for a while, I think it's a better game to stream than it is to play as an individual thing. I think actually as a streaming game, obviously the frustrations of the minute this game doesn't work for you in the way you want it to tactically or other things, it can be as frustrating as anything. Of course, absolutely. And figuring that out can be complicated. But the actual basics of, I think it runs quite quickly now that they've changed a few things in some of the updates. I think the lag's gone. I think it works smoother and better. I mean, this afternoon, because you can't go and investigate the universe in the same way, it becomes quite match focus and moving the save on quite quickly in some ways. And so I actually quite enjoy streaming it in a way, because it suits that style of stream. I'm not trying to make a 15-minute video on YouTube where you have to dive into the minutiae of the game and how little aspects work. I'm doing a broad sweep of, I've got my lot and we're going to charge off into battle and see what happens over the course of a season, and let's see what works and what doesn't and try and tweak it along the way. So I actually think it runs quite well as a streaming game. Whether it's the same for somebody that's not in that sort of field, that just has it on their laptop on the sofa, I think there's a game in there, and I think it's getting better all the time. Look, we've had several patches with several hundred different updates on it now that are all tweaking and making the game slightly better, we think, as we go. So there's a game in there. But I do actually quite like it as a streaming tool.
It's an interesting point, that, because while you were talking about that, and again, maybe not something I'd planned to talk about tonight, but again, something we certainly can talk about, because it's a thought I've had this week, and I actually mentioned it in Llama's stream today about, like, there will be a moment in time when I don't hit go live anymore and there's no more YouTube videos, or there's, maybe no podcast or whatever, what then? While you were talking, I genuinely thought about, is it worth me buying a laptop and playing Football Manager the old-fashioned way? And how I used to play it when I was just a Football Manager fan and I wasn't a Football Manager content creator and I didn't run a podcast. Because now, so back in the day, obviously I would play either on the desktop PC, which is similar to what we've got right now. Then, of course, we became laptop players, so we could move around, we could bring our saves wherever we were, and that was maybe like a more of a portable thing, and it maybe brought people together a bit more, because maybe this was university or we're moving into shared housing or whatever, and being able to sort of have it on a laptop, and it's more like, oh, look and physically show people, look at my save here, look at what I'm doing, rather than trying to lug a PC around with you. Now I'm sat in front of a gaming rig and a home studio, essentially. This is where I play Football Manager. This is literally me in front of screens. It's not on my laptop. You said there, Kev, about having the TV on in the background. I think because of the way that I play the game, because I'm not 100% dialed into everything, I actually think that I would still be able to play the game the way that I play it, sat on a laptop on the sofa with the TV on, where I don't have to be fully dialed in on the game and like looking for every little stat and number and nuance, I could still get enough out of that game in a laptop. And I wonder whether or not I would still plow hours in on a laptop and get hot legs again, Llama. And do you know what? Now I'm thinking it's like Christmas is coming, and I don't know, there's a little part of me that's just warmed up inside at the prospect of playing Football Manager on a laptop again.
Yeah, but for me, I think what you've just surmised is what immersion is. It's where you're at work and I was a teacher, so you've got a free period, and obviously you've done all your planning, you've done all your marking, and then you're sketching out a 3-5-2 in the back of your planner. When you're thinking about your save when you're not with it, that's immersion. Or when I don't know. Again, God, this is embarrassing to admit, but when you used to go on holiday, but you didn't take the game with you. That kind of feeling of, I cannot wait to get back and have a game. And you'd be thinking about who you might manage. I'd be there thinking about different player role combinations that might work together. You're meant to be like enjoying a family holiday, and you're just thinking, if I could just get those fullbacks further forward, or if I could just get that half back on the ball a little bit more, that's when a game's got you. And I have to be honest, I've got that with FM26, and bizarrely more than I had with FM24. Now, maybe that's just to do with the kind of saves I'm doing, but I don't think so. I've not even started my save yet. I did a beta save one season with Birmingham, the club I support, and then I was too afraid to start my main save because of all of the bugs and the patches coming out. So I just did a placeholder save in Norway, and I'm rabid for it. I cannot get enough of it. And a lot of that is to do with the tactics, absolutely. But I just don't know what it is. But FM26 has got me. It did not have me during the beta at all. And I thought, I'm going to struggle with this game. But I started this placeholder save at Tromsø in Norway. And I find myself thinking about how I can change my tactics when I'm not with my save. And I think, if I wasn't creating any content, I would be playing FM26 significantly more than I am as a content creator. The only reason I don't have an offline save, I should say, is just time.
You made a fundamental error, though, didn't you? You went for a short-term save and you went to Scandinavia.
I know.
It's a fantastic place to play Football Manager, isn't it?
Yes,
it's just a great place.
There is no such thing as a short-term Scandi save, is there? It's like it's the land of Football Manager. Come on. It's like going around Disneyland going, we'll have a weekend at Disneyland. You can't have a weekend at Disneyland. It's just too perfect. And, see, this is the thing. You're right. Like, I haven't got an offline save either, but we've spoken about this, Llama. I will come back to yourself on this one. We've spoken about the idea of a Let's Play for YouTube, and I spoke to Chris, our editor, about this, and I spoke to SecondYellowCard about it as well, and like the idea that, do we chop down the Darlington save for YouTube? Because Darlington's on, obviously it's uploaded in its entirety as a stream. Now, people don't have 3 hours to sit and watch a stream. Totally get that. It's a massive commitment. Could I chop down the save into like manageable chunks? Could do. People sort of got on board with it for a little bit, and then naturally it wanes off a bit. Plus, then there's my time of having to physically edit it together to do that. Difficult with a full-time job and a family and kids and a streaming schedule and a wife who occasionally wants to see me, and then extra bits and pieces as well. So then, of course, I thought, well, hang on, I've not got enough time to fit some more stuff in. So could I squeeze in another save as well and do a Let's Play for YouTube? And Llama, we started talking about that this week because that's literally what you are doing.
It is. Well, what I am going to be doing, yeah. But, for me, YouTube is what I started doing as content. I put off streaming for a long, long time, thinking that the technology I wouldn't be able to work. So, I started creating FM content for FM20, and I don't think I started streaming until halfway through FM23, so 20, 21, 22. I was only on YouTube, and then I took a break from it because most of my YouTube content was Let's Play series, and I got swept up in the bubble of thinking that Football Manager content was moving in a different direction. Fewer people were making Let's Plays, fewer people were watching Let's Plays, and it's always the case that you start off with more viewers for episodes 1 to 5 than you end up with for episodes 45 to 50. And so I took a break from it, and that break got longer, and the delay and the cancellation of FM25 meant that for the second half of FM24, I didn't do a Let's Play series at all. But I'm going to do one again, and I'm back. And I think that there is still a significant demand amongst a segment of the Football Manager base that still really enjoys watching 50 to 100 episodes, chapters of a story.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what got me into content, was watching Loki Doki. It was watching Jack. It was watching like the stories of these like long form content, that sort of got me hooked. And I was like, oh, do you know what? I quite like a little bit of this. Like I'm getting on board with it, and I think it's very me. Like, you look at my content and it is very long form podcasting, streaming. I'm not a TikToker. Surprisingly shocking. I know. Welcome, new viewers. That doesn't work for me, and I think we almost forget that there is an audience that's like us, that does want to consume that longer form content. And just because it's less popular than other forms of content, which are maybe more short form, it doesn't mean, Kev, that we have to pull the anchor up and set off to sea. Like we could still stay in the harbour for a little bit longer and just see who else is around. We don't have to go just yet, right?
No, absolutely. I think that's demonstrated. Obviously, I've stepped away from YouTube. It's not my thing currently, and I don't have a massive intention to return to it necessarily. But what I see of my current audience when I stream, how many of them are just listening in to somebody whilst they're working? And that doesn't have to change whether it's on YouTube as a video or as a stream in person. It's still the same thing. It's still a soundtrack to your day. It's still feeling connected to something, be it the story of a save or a community online or whatever it might be that's drawing you in. So, there's always going to be a place for everything. The simple reality of it these days is that there is a perception that the next generation coming through, that their attention span isn't particularly good and they're all about fast moving content. I sit here and watch my wife watch TikTok. I don't watch TikTok. I haven't got a TikTok account or anything. I have very rarely gone it, but she's just flicking and laughing at something for 2 seconds, then flicking and crying at something and flicking and thinking it's interesting and flicking and thinking, and it's just that constant feed of something. If that's what floats your boat, that's great. But I have several people that just put me on in the background and spend 3 hours in my company every afternoon and just let me be the soundtrack to their day. And there is nothing to say that a YouTube video can't feel that on a long-term basis. So yes, there is opportunity there, absolutely. I think that there have got to be questions about how you package it. What I spoke about right at the beginning of our conversation was, you might have your long-term aim of, I want this club to go to X and be as successful as whatever. But what about the here and now? What's the hook for every episode that you put out? What makes them want to pay attention for the next 2 or 3 to then realize that actually they've now watched 10 or 11 and they're invested in something wider and bigger and, more interesting to them. So yeah, it's definitely there. People still want to belong to something and they want to connect to something and they want a soundtrack. People have their earphones on a lot more than they used to.
Again, great point, that idea that it's on in the background, and just like I occasionally, I'll have, if I'm doing some bits and pieces, like maybe I'm making dinner or something, and I'm in the kitchen, I'll have my phone on, and I'll have maybe a stream or something, or I'll have a little YouTube video on there, and I'll be multitasking. But you're right. If ever there's a YouTube video that I intentionally want to watch, I've got to stop doing everything and devote my 100% attention to that video. Whereas like with a podcast or with any audio platform or something that's just like in the background, yeah, I can zone in and zone out. Now, whether that's slightly disrespectful to a Let's Play save or not, I don't know, but the idea of that hook that you're talking about there, Kev, like there's got to be something, what's in it, what's the jeopardy per episode, or, what's going to drag you back in? That's the story unfolding, isn't it? Like, and it's up to us as storytellers to find the relevance in these episodes. Like, is it going to be, okay, well, we're going to fast forward every 6 games, we're going to do half a season as an update, we're going to do, all right, every time we play our local rival. Like, that's the bit, Llama, because I know this is part of your plan right now, this is the bit where even I'm trying to plot out myself, going, all right, if I was to try and do it, because again, I've tried this before and I've given up and I've failed because I've tried to over polish and over commit, and I am, believe it or not, I am a bit of a perfectionist, and I won't let things go if I don't think they're worthy, and sometimes I need to just scale back and go, just get it done and get it out. I mean, the thought process then of how you package up a Let's Play, how are you envisaging it in your head for like a season? Like, are you doing like 4 videos a season, 5 videos a season, 2 videos? I mean, without giving away 100% of your plan, where do you think you're going to be?
Well, so, I mean, the general consensus is you're meant to do like a 50-minute video, get 5 seasons in there, and then you release another one next week at a different club. I'm doing the complete opposite. So I am going to do a journeyman career. The title of it is going to be Continental King. So the end goal of the save is to try and win the Champions League in the continent that I base this game world in. Could be Africa, Europe, South North America, Asia. And I'm planning on doing 6 episodes per season, unless I find myself managing in leagues like England, perhaps, that have longer seasons, might even be more. And through each season, we will check in on the save during key points. And it's almost like, if you watch a soap opera, there's always key points in the life cycle of a soap opera. There will be the kill off the old standing cast member. There will be the Scott and Charlene wedding, or whatever it is. You have that in Football Manager. So you have the first episode of each season. Everybody is the hook, as Kev described it, is who's he bought? Has he changed the tactic? What are they going to kick off the new season like? You've got hooks later on, like cup finals, relegation battles, but you've also got those mid-season hooks. So I once did a save on YouTube that was a youth-only save. So I could only play players that came through my own youth intakes. And if I put youth intake day on the thumbnail, the views would spike because everyone's like, what did he get? What was that golden generation like? And so I even started bringing the viewer back for the youth intake preview episode, and they're like, what is he going to get? 2 A ratings, 3 A ratings? So the trick is you just work out how many episodes you want per season, and you think, well, so what are going to be those episodes that you come back for every season? And before you know it, you're coming back for the first day of the season, the last day of the season, and youth intake day. Well, that's 3 of your 6 done already. So during the course of a season, you've just got to find 3 other purposeful reasons to come back. Could be on derby games, cup finals, whatever it might be, and there's your 6 games in a season.
Yeah. I was gonna say the formula makes complete sense. And I know that you've then got the sort of like the sort of the thought process from the viewer, who's like, they always like the thought process being like, do you always show the win? do you always show the win? Now, again, like my perspective on this would be
never had that problem
because I can't guarantee you're going to get a win. I can't guarantee that because instantly in my head, Llama, I was going, my plot point is we've lost 7 on the bounce. Can we make it 10? That's where I'd be looking at with that one. And I mean, again, this is things that I don't know whether it's unspoken. I don't know whether I'm breaking any fourth walls or any sort of like NDAs amongst the creator community here or not, but I was always led to believe, and again, this is potentially personal preference, that if you're doing a Let's Play, you're playing every single game offline. You're playing it. You're playing the whole thing, but I have heard some whisperings that not everyone does that. Not everyone does that. Some people figure that because it takes a long time that, you can just instant result up until the point you want to play, and then that's you, and that's completely fine. If that's how you want to do it, that's completely fine. But whenever I try to do this in the past, I always look at it, and it's a little bit like podcasting, and it's a bit like stand-up. Like, I never knew what bits were the clips and what bit was the best bit to show anybody. And I'm like, well, it's all technically relevant, and you need context for this and context for that. And so my 20-minute YouTube videos were like 3 hours and 45 minutes going, well, here's the reason why this episode's happened today, which I guess is sort of why I've ended up as a streamer rather than as a YouTuber. But yeah, I don't know. There is part of me, and it is going back to, I am quite enjoying my save that FM26 has got me thinking about another save as well. And I've not been like that for a while. I must admit, I've not. And Kev, to your point earlier about you've got an end goal in mind, the Champions League or whatever, surely the story's better when you don't. Surely it's better when you don't get to the league. I mean, it's equal, you can have the joyous moment of lifting the trophy. That's what everybody wants to see, but everyone's seen that before. Is it not better working out how many times he failed?
Oh, and absolutely there is an element of that. But the thing that I love about that, and I have experienced that, years ago, I did my first iteration of Rolling in the Isles, which was my British Isles journey save, where I had to move my way up from basically nothing as a manager, move my way around the British Isles, eventually get to the top and win the big things and get to one Champions League final, and win or lose it didn't matter. That was the end point. Whatever happened in the first time round, I lost the Champions League final. So it enabled me to go back round again a few FMs later with an already pre-existing story attached to it. I then did Homeward Bound, and 10 months into a real time, 10 months into my save, it broke, and I had to completely put it to the side and say, I can't play this. The game has completely broken on me. And it meant I could go back round again. So the storytelling aspect of who we are is not just about our individual saves. If you spend long enough with a particular person who's putting stuff out there, eventually they become the story to a point. Was he successful before? Has he felt the pain of losing stuff? Has he actually gone back round again and actually done it? Has he got this weird thing where every time he shows up in Sweden, the Swedish nation despise him? That's me, apparently. They've absolutely hated me every time I go there. It's not worked out for me. I don't know why. It took me 4 goes round, I think, to actually make Valencia work in various iterations that I've tried for whatever reason. Those become the stories. So, yeah, pain is all part of it, isn't it? And it can lead to other things. I can assure you, I've experienced the pain. I don't set out wanting to particularly, but if it happens, that's the thing. You pivot and you make something out of it. And that's what draws people into you, because then they can latch on to something and they reference it later. Whether you're a YouTuber, if you go through your YouTube comments when you're doing an iteration of what you've done several FMs ago and you're going down a different path, they'll remind you of stuff because they've got a hive mind. They remember many a thing that I haven't got a clue about. My knowledge of my own saves is very poor compared to the hive mind of people that watch it. And they're always willing to remind you of stuff because they want to belong to something. They want to connect to something. And if that's you as a person, then that's great because that invests them in what you do. But yeah, the pain and the misery is real, people.
And it follows me like a shadow. It's brilliant. yeah. And again, that community element, Kev, you talk about, you're right. It's that sense of belonging that people want to be part of it. Like, people love being part of saves. They love telling you about their saves. That's the thing as well, isn't it? Like, people love telling you about their saves. It's the one constant in all of our chats and all of our Discords that, like, people want to give you their save updates as to where they are. So, like, the idea, as I say, that maybe the element of immersion isn't there for some people, but for some people it's still there, because they're still loving it. They're still asking questions. They're still playing their saves. They're coming up with ideas. And I just think the fact that I'm thinking about the game now a lot, that's got to speak for something. Like, you know, we're talking there about some of your saves there, Kev, you know, and Llama, we've mentioned your youth only saves as well. Like, we'll talk a bit more, you know, during Patreon about some of your favorite saves, and we'll have a little bit of time tonight to talk about that, and then we'll have some time in the future to go a bit more deep dive into it as well. But I guess, like, Llama, really, like, where are you thinking? Because you've got that glint in your eye. You're clearly enjoying your Football Manager at the minute. Like, they're adding more stuff in all the time, as we know. You know, there's these content updates are coming in. Things like the international management is eventually going to drop with the World Cup. Like, does that change any of your plans? Like, because of stuff not being in, did it change any ways you're going to play the game? Like, for me, for example, I was going to do Build a Nation Scotland, but there was no international. So I was like, right, take it out. We're not going to do that as an idea. I don't know about yourself. Has that changed any of your plans at any point? Or does it set you up a second save after you've done 50 to 100 episodes of Let's Play to go, like, right, now we could do a World Cup special, for example, or some internationals?
Yes, it's going to be a bit bizarre, but for somebody who has made a reputation of recommending save ideas, I don't always put that much deep thought into mine, you know. So I kind of like a thought kind of like just bristles along in front of me like a leaf blowing on the wind, and I just reach out and grab it. Oh, right, that's it, and it's like it burrows into my consciousness. So, you know, before FM26 came out, back when we thought, you know, maybe it'd be released to some kind of fanfare and we'd get going on our long-term saves from day one, I decided that I wanted to do a region air save. I'm a huge fan of region air saves. That, like, I find youth-only saves a little bit restrictive because there's that whole area of the game, scouting and transfers, is just stripped away from you. So I like a region air where you can only sign players from a certain part of the country, a little bit as if you were managing Athletic Club Bilbao. And I decided long ago that I was going to do that, and I was set on the area that I was going to do it. So I'm going to do a Sicilian only save for next Twitch stream, and I've delayed that because of some of the patches that Football Manager have been releasing. And after the big patch came out last time, I thought, right, I'm ready to start. Now they've dropped another one on us today, and I'm thinking, do I delay it further? But I think eventually you just got to bite the bullet, dive in there, and it's not that deep. It's just a video game. Like, you know, Kev's been through this, got through X number of seasons in Homeward Bound, and then disaster, you know, the save broke. But if it hadn't been for that, he wouldn't have gone on and had the fun at Valencia or in his Nordic journeyman that he did. And, you know, I once did a big save reveal on YouTube saying I'm going to do a youth-only save at Kettering Town. Season and a half it lasted, and then I was sacked. But if it hadn't been for that, I wouldn't have gone on to do arguably my favourite ever save in Football Manager, which I will talk to your Patreon members about later on. So, yeah, when the FM gods close a door, they open a window. So I think I'm just going to have to bite the bullet, play it because I'm so excited about it. And if the game breaks, you know, I think the audience will understand.
I think so. And I think you've got to be agile with your idea as well. Like, you can't be too locked down. Kevin, I know you're saying there that the idea of this a one club save right now, and people ask me on my stream, like, you know, all right, it's Darlington, is it going to be one club save? And my answer is always, I don't know. Like, it might be out of my hands as to whether this is a one club save or not. Like, the Darlington board are really in charge of what happens here. Even my streaming debut was meant to be a one club save with Sunderland, and that lasted a very short space of time. I think it was about 6 streams, but then it became a Peterborough save, and we had so much fun. And then we went off to Scotland, and then we took the Azerbaijan job, and we came back to Peterborough. So being locked into that one thing of this is what the save is, it's not always the way, is it? Because you kind of got to be able to roll with the punches a little bit, like, which is sort of what real football is, really, isn't it? You can go in with your vision, your ideas, this is what's going to be, and 10 games in, you're out the door again.
Yeah, it's interesting though, isn't it? The only reason that mine currently is, that's how I refer to mine, is because I never do it. It's not been a thing that I've ever done on my live streams at all, is stick to one club and try and take them to the top rather than myself to the top in some way. And so it was not the original plan for my FM 25. When it was, originally going to be FM 25, I had the boomerang save named by Llama, actually. It was something that I was going to do where basically I started in the English women's game, and once I'd won that top league, I would then leave that and I would make my way round the world, dropping in on continents and countries in those continents that I've never managed in before, and try and win that league before moving to the next and the next, and make my way round the world and finish in the English men's league, basically, to win the Premier League and whatever else. And so the boomerang, because it starts in one place and finishes in the same place, basically was the idea. But then halfway through the second year of 24 being out, I got a pang to do a one club save and do what I don't normally do, which is care about the youth and bring them through. And because I wasn't, because every 4 seasons I was going somewhere else. And so if I brought a brilliant 17-year-old through, eventually 2 seasons later when he's ready, I'm over somewhere else and he's not with me anymore. So there was just a thing to do in that. But, absolutely, trust me, if Worthing sacked me, we'll do something and we'll get our own back on them, and it will be a revenge tour of something or other, or something will come out of it, and that's absolutely fine. But my hope and my intention is that I actually want to challenge myself to be successful. So the point where I'm currently at of I can't quite make the tactical thing work. Financially, we're doing okay, but I have a bit of a reputation for just ploughing money out of the club and not worrying too much. I have to focus on those things and make sure it's as good as it can be, because I want to stay there if I can, because I never do. So yeah, it's just, it's another aspect of the story. The story this time round is, can I do that? But can I do it from the perspective of getting the club up? Can I do it? That's part of the story, Am I actually able to do this? So yeah, but, ultimately, I've felt the pain of Football Manager many a time. If it happens again, we will pivot and do something else. But do I want to? No. I'm really happy at Worthing. I want to make a go of it and get them there.
There was some real passion in there, wasn't there, Llama? There was a little bit of like, this will be a one club save, just you watch.
You wait. I'll get sacked next stream now. Thanks, TJ.
Just outside of the board, we're going, some questions.
We heard you were on a podcast saying...
What are you doing sacking me? Sorry, Kev, what was that?
We heard you were on a podcast and you were saying...
Yeah, not a good week for being caught in the media for things to say, is it?
Not really.
No, not at all. So this is where we're at then. So, and again, I don't know. Does this feel like a natural end point of the conversation? I feel like we just sort of go back round again. And was there anything else that we need to add to this story? We've had the prologue. We've had the character arc. We've nuanced through our challenges, our trials, our tribulations. We've overcome adversity. Are we now coming to the resolution point, do you reckon, Llama, of our storytelling episode?
Yeah, I think perhaps the note I would end on is that I completely understand that for some people the reason they play the game is not to tell the story of a club. it's to tell a different kind of story. And for them, they're finding it very difficult. So there's a whole group of people that play the game because they like to create a certain tactical style. And, you know, they could do that at any kind of club, really. That bit's not their story. It's all about the match engine. It's about the tactic. It's about studying the data analytics and tweaking and changing. You know, I have somebody in my Discord who usually only manages one season per iteration of the game, and it's always at Ajax, the club that he supports, and it's about trying to perfect the Ajax way of playing in the current match engine of that game. And I know people that play the game where the tactic is the story rather than the evolution of the club or the manager is the story, are finding it very difficult to play because of the lack of data, and for them that's their immersion. And so I completely understand that for those people, they might just be screaming at me during this podcast going, yeah, but just assigning Sicilians is not for me. It's all about trying to create a certain tactical style of play.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. Like, it doesn't matter how many episodes we do of this podcast. There's always going to be someone else who plays the game a different way to what we've spoken about during the episode, isn't it? And yeah, you know, all the way through this, I'm just thinking, this is brilliant, this is great, but poor Muster Man, you know, it's like his content career was booming, and then SI just went, well, no more skins, and Muster Man was like, great, cool, thanks. It's kind of my thing. Yeah, you know, like having to find the data within the game. People who love the data science element of it, they're going to struggle. You know, people who love to know all the ins and outs and spend hours and hours and hours in the spreadsheet version of Football Manager. Yeah, I get you're not going to find those levels that we are, and I'm looking at the game slightly differently in a way that suits me personally. And yeah, so of course we do obviously appreciate that there are people who will want more and different, and you can't please everyone, can you, Kev?
You can't, but I think it's worthwhile saying that my last contribution to this conversation will be back on the nuance thing. When this game first came out and I could see the vitriol around the community, and I missed a bit of it, as I say, because I wasn't well in the first few days of it, when it came out in the beta form. When I came back, the first thing that I said to my personal community that gather around almost in my name, as it were, is I don't need you to try and change the mind of anybody in this conversation. If somebody comes in to our community and they say, I absolutely hate this game, they have ruined it, my passion is gone, I think SI are terrible, and the blah, 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 and such like, whilst I may not agree with all of that, and I may not agree with the vitriol and some of the way that it was said, my job is not to convert you to a different way of thought. My job as the center hub of this community is to say, I'm really sorry that that's the case. That must absolutely suck for you, because I know what it feels like to be passionate about this game, and having played it for 30 years and how it drew me in and what it's done for me as a person. I get project and purpose and joy and self-worth and all sorts about, you know, using this game in some ways. So I get it. I'm really sorry that that's the case. If you come in and you say, this is brilliant, this is me, this is how I want this game to be, it was too convoluted before, it's streamlined, I can get on with it, I can do the thing, and it, it makes me invested and connected, and I'm whizzing through stuff and I'm enjoying it. Brilliant. I don't need to convert you to anything else. If you're having a great time, that's amazing, because I know how it feels to be really passionate about FM, really connected to it and really loving it. And if you're somewhere in the middle, a bit frustrated with some of it, a bit happy with some of the things that they've done, and maybe you're not supposed to be, or that's how you feel because of what's going on around, whatever it might be, I hear you too. The nuance is there. I am not here to try and convert your thought. I'm here to say it's okay. And it might suck for you, and it might be brilliant for you, and I'll be there doing my thing, and somehow we can collect together and still be all right. You know, that's where I finish.
Yeah. And again, I like the fact we've left common sense to the end, Kev. So if people haven't watched all the way through, they're not going to hear that bit from you, which is fine. But I do find actually with that, I find an interesting talking point, and where we were say we're going to try and wrap up, but the idea that the player base, of course, is falling. We know that. Like, there are people that are physically playing FM26 now. It is falling. However, I'm going to offer you a perspective on this. Christmas is coming up. People might still be buying the game for Christmas, so the player base might go up a little bit. You've obviously got Game Pass. Obviously, is like, does that count as one? Like, there's a way that metric might change as well for Game Pass. And then, of course, when all the content updates come out later in the year, Steam do a sale of some point, and then there's going to be like the last week of the season or something. FM's usually free, isn't it, for like a couple of weeks or something. We could see another player spike with FM26. It's not decline until nothing before FM27. We could see another player spike in 26. And as long as we're in a relatively healthy position going into 27, that's the positive state of where we are, I think. And if we are in a position where we can tell stories, talk about the game positively, have a good experience, and ensure that the game can be enjoyed, then it will, of course, get another round of interest spike, maybe another 3,000 patches and updates and fixes, bring the game closer to what it was meant to be as well. I just think FM26 is certainly salvageable for those people who said it was unsalvageable at the start. And I would say that if people stepped away at the start, then it is worth considering having a little look at it again now or in a couple of months' time. It is different to what it was in the beta, and it is improving all the time, and it is still different. It is still different. But I do take your point, Kev, of there will be a point for us three as well, that there will be a point that eventually a version of Football Manager will not be for us. And it will be the version where we step away. And that moment, I don't know when that comes. And again, you sort of touched upon it a little bit earlier on. I don't know when that comes because all I've known is this game. Like, from being 12 or 13 when I started playing it, and I'm 45 now. Like, I don't know. This has been a constant in my life. But there will be a version where I look and go, oh, no, I haven't got the time for this, or I haven't got the interest in this anymore. And part of me now wonders, like, what that's going to be like to walk away from Football Manager and when that is. And I don't know if either of you have ever had that thought or that consideration that at some point it's just not going to be our thing anymore.
A little bit. And there was, a brief half-hour period when I was a choking, awful mess on my deathbed in the early launch of the
that's
beta,
fair
where I was
busy
feeling
dying,
rough.
Kev. Yeah, that's
and
understandable.
I've had 2 days of playing this game, and I don't know whether I can cope with it or not. But it hasn't been this time round. But yeah, at some point, I will stop doing what I do. And as I said earlier, my question is, will I still play after I stop streaming and other bits? I might not. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what it feels like. Because like you, I've been doing this in my own way to entertain myself mostly, but I've been doing it for over 30 years now. And yeah, interesting thought. Who knows?
Llama.
Nah, I'll still play it. To be brutally honest, I can see a scenario where I die with this in my hand, to be honest. I can certainly foresee the day where I stop creating content. And I think for a little while, I might start playing Football Manager because it'll feel a bit odd not creating content around it. But that's how it gets you, You just think, oh, God, just a couple of seasons. That's just, and then you're back. And honestly, it's like catnip to me. I cannot see a time where I'm not playing it. Like you say, you and I, Tony, we're the same age. Kev's a bit younger, but I think 1993 I started playing this game. So Champman 93. I've not missed a version since, and it's evolved a lot in that time. And if I've not found a reason to stop playing it in those 30 odd years, I can't see it in the next X number of years.
Yeah, definitely.
It's just too darn Moorish, isn't it?
Well, I'm also very conscious as well. I've got two young boys. I've got two young lads like who are going to grow up. They're into video games now anyway. Like they absolutely love it. They get into all the stuff. Like they've both sat and looked at Football Manager, and they've both, like the eldest one particularly has been on the stream a couple of times, and he's got a winning record. So he's going to take over my stream essentially. So there's going to be, and again, without getting too deep on this, like I've spoken to some people whose entry into Football Manager was playing with their dad or playing with their uncle or playing with their older brother. Like I never had that. I just went straight into it because that's what me and my mates played. Like we all played, we were growing up in the video game generation. So we just played Football Manager games, and then this one turned up, Champ Manager, and we played it. I can see the future of like me introducing this to my kids and them then taking it on. And at that point, is that what keeps me in even more? Like, is it that, like, or do I step away and go, you know what, kids, this is all yours now. Here's a terrible save with Burnley. You can have it. Take everything I've owned. Llama's buried with his mouse. Do I have to like give over, like, as part of my my will? Go, right, okay. And to my eldest, I leave several seasons of disappointment at Darlington.
Wow, what a thought! But the story continues.
The story continues, absolutely, and that's the place we'll leave it, fellas. It's been a pleasure having you on.
Absolute joy.
Genuinely love chatting, and we're going to go do some more stuff on Patreon now. So if you want to go and listen to Kev's favourite save and Llama's favourite save in a little bit more detail than you get either on stream or on YouTube, you can find us on Patreon, patreon.com/the FM Show pod. You can support the show from as little as £3 a month. You can even have a 7-day free trial. Try it before you buy it, and you'll want to support it once you've seen it. There's loads of cool stuff on there. So there's an extra episode every single week, and you get the public episode 24 hours early as well. But fellas, let's promote yourselves. Where can we find you if our viewers have enjoyed what they've heard of and they want to hear you tell stories? Kev, we'll come to you first.
You can find me at the United City FM on Twitch, basically every weekday afternoon, 2 till 5 p.m. Mostly I'm there. Other than that, I have got an X account. I have got a Blue Sky account. I can't say I'm particularly active. I've got a great Discord where you can come and be part of my community. I don't think I feel massively like I do that particularly great either. But what I give is myself every weekday afternoon. It'd be great to see you.
Absolutely. And do go and check it out. It's wonderful, wonderful viewing. And Llama, yourself, where can people find you?
Okay, so this is very important that you get this the right way round. Okay, so it's FM Llama on YouTube and Twitch. If you do Llama FM, you're going to get a South American radio station that will be thoroughly enthralling, but it won't have any Football Manager content on it.
Excellent stuff. So that is Llama FM for all of your all of your daytime showbiz worlds. No, go and check out FM Llama. And again, another fantastic afternoon stream. Both of which I love hanging in both of these people's communities. They are amazing. So thank you so much, fellas, for coming and joining us. Let's lock this off. Hope you enjoyed it, everyone. We're going to lock this off now. We're going to talk about Patreon. It's the season of Christmas. So whenever you're watching this, I hope you have a wonderful Christmas. Take care of yourselves. Speak to you soon. All the best. Bye now.